we do in life echoes in eternity.
Yeah.
Well, this is my podcast, James Laid Out, and my guest is Mike Gracey today, the owner of Show Offs, probably the start of my fitness movement. I'm really, like when I went to Mike's gym the first time, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the first time I seen bodybuilding. And it was such an eye opener. I think it was life changing for me because it made me just maybe I can do this, and I'm just really grateful for you and the kind of environment you brought to El Paso. And I guess in a way, you started it all in El Paso. A brief introduction on you.
Yeah, so of course I've been here, came here for the Army a long time ago, 2000 I got here. So the Army brought me here from the East Coast of Georgia, Florida is where I was raised at. My first duty station, I was always into working out. I was at that time I was like 19 years old, and then got here. Went to Iraq a couple times, came back. I was a personal trainer in EP Fitness. And then I ended up opening a gym a few years later, got out, finished my degree in nutrition, was a contractor for the government, all that stuff, had my gym going on at the same time. But, so now it's grown, so I have the 3 gyms right now. I have the meal prep company, Fit Fuel Grill. I have a smoothie bar inside Fitness for Life now. So smoothie supplements and meals. I am a master fitness trainer for the Army still, so I'm still in after all these years. I teach I instruct master fitness. So I'm a master fitness instructor. So I instruct other master fitness. So pretty much it's program designed for the military. They're gotten away from just, the way it used to be where it's just run, push ups, sit ups, and run every day. Now we're doing actual programming, strength conditioning style. So basically you're a tactical strength conditioning coach, and I teach that for the Army. I'm also a medic for the Army, so I teach medical recertification. So I go there and we teach everything from chest tubes to IVs to blood draw transfusions to all that stuff. So I go there probably 3 or 4 times a year to it was Fort Hood in Killeen, Texas, and I teach there for the Army. So I have a few more years of that, and then I can get out of the military completely with retirement. And I also work for a very, very large energy drink company. I manage 26 states for them, so I do all the health and fitness business. So I do gyms, supplement stores, CrossFit boxes. I travel 200 to 230 days a year. So this is my second week in town. I think I'm going on 19 days. I've been in town this year since 2024 started. So yeah, this is a good week. So that's why when I know we've been trying to connect since November, man, I think, and this is the first week I've been able to get in town and say, hey, I'm here, got some time. Can we do this while I'm here? Cause I take off again next week and I'm gone for 3 or 4 more weeks. I'll go back to LA, they go back to Dallas and I'll be all over the place again. So
since you know so much about it's amazing what you do in one day. I've seen you work out times a day and juggle your life and have a
jobs
life
and I just bought a ranch too. Yeah. So now I have a ranch. I have 6 acres I just bought in Montana in November. So I'm trying to do a nonprofit for disabled veterans, special needs kids, unprivileged kids, stuff like that. I'm trying to give them maybe even a rescue as well. Cause I've already got a friend at the county health animal services. They want me to pick up a peacock and that's been there for a month. And now they want me to get some dogs. So yeah, I'm doing that now as well. So, and I think you're right. The fitness gave me discipline. Well, the Army and fitness has given me so much discipline in life. You've competed, so you know how it is. Like your regimen from the minute you wake up to the minute you go to bed. Your meals are planned, your workouts planned, your cardio's planned, your days are planned. And I think I rolled that over into the rest of my life. And I tell everybody, if you could compete and you could stay on that for those 16 weeks, that's the hardest thing you'll ever do. If you could do that and apply it to anything else in your life, you'll be successful.
Yeah, and I think the gym is really just starting place, more of just self-care. It's a necessity. Just, I want to look good.
Right. I think, that's a side effect.
Yeah, right? You might look good, but you're just so much of a better person.
Even if you don't get to the stage like a bodybuilder like we do, you're just bettering yourself and you're putting yourself through stress at the gym. You're putting yourself through hard times. You're putting yourself through pressure. Pressure makes diamonds, right? Mm-hmm. So you're putting yourself through pressure at the gym. Everything else in life should be easy. If you can get out there and work out for an hour and do cardio for 35 minutes, something happens and you have to run across the street, you're not out of breath, right? Or if you got to, change a tire, you have to pick the tire up, you're not hurting to do that. It makes you better at everything else you do. So I think you're 100% right. This is a great starting point for everybody. Not only the mental release, the help that you get from, I've pretty much a lot of the gym that I do and, obsessively is for mental health, and that's a big part of it. But
I know, I think you were the first cut.
First company in Texas, 2010.
Okay, so what makes your meal?
So I guess over the time I evolved. So when I first started it, basically I did it. So I have a degree in nutrition. I finished at Purdue Global and I have a degree in nutrition with a minor in biology. So I love nutrition, right? I freaking took 3 years of 180 hour semester out of college of nutrition. I love it, right? So learning that, and I was going to school to be a physical therapist, right? Physical therapy, kinesiology with a biology degree. Started taking nutrition classes, fell in love. So I learned that you can change people's lives with food, right? Like you can change, okay, cool. You go to the gym every day, but if you eat terribly, it's going to be a minimal effect. But you can literally change their food. You can change how much they weigh. You can change disease and sickness, like to a point. Some things medication is great for or needs to be done for, but mostly depression, anxiety, weight loss, type 2 diabetes. A lot of these things can be fixed with changing your diet.
That's why I love there. You have your bodybuilders and
we have them all from. We've got kids that started there at six years old, and they literally came to me. There's this kid that came in the other day. He's like, sir, do you remember me? I'm like, you look familiar. He's like, I started here when I was 5 years old. I was in your kids' fit camp that I used to teach. And he's 23 years old now and like a grown man and doing great in life. He's like, I still remember everything you taught me. Like I just taught kids to be self-confident. And that's kind of what I did back in the day when I had time to do that. And I love teaching. And I taught a women's self-defense class. I taught kids even how to defend themselves. I taught them a little bit. I'm nowhere near good at jiu-jitsu, but we teach something in the Army called combatives, which is like a basic jiu-jitsu. And I would teach this to these kids, just how to defend yourself. Somebody grabs you, if somebody's bullying you, there's a way to get out of it, right? And that's all I would teach. And then plus basic strength. Hey, how to do a push-up. Stuff they were lacking in school. Yeah. And this was 16 years ago they were lacking it. 16 years ago they were lacking this in school. I know now they're probably not doing PE at all. You know what I mean? So
the amount of exercises less each year.
Yeah.
Like you have gotten into. I remember the last year competing. I was like, man, I gotta stand next to you, and I'm like, this is horrible. And I was like, oh, at least he's gonna beat me. And at least I look somewhat okay.
Yeah, you look great, dude.
But got you to that level. What kind of dedication?
Yeah.
How did you look so?
I've learned to. We call it in the Army. We call it embrace the suck. Right? Okay. You know it's going to suck. And so you just embrace it. You just accept it and know it instead of fighting it and being negative about it. Like, oh man, I got to get up and do cardio. Oh man, I got to eat chicken every day. I got to go work out every day. I get to work out. I get to do cardio. I get to do this. I get to have 4% body fat. I get to have abs. You know what I mean? I do this because I love it. And that's the kind of mindset. So mindset starts everything off, right? And then it's kind of seeing how far I can push myself to suffer, right? I still got a lot going on with businesses and work. I still have a full-time job. I still have things to take care of. So I can't be so inebriated as far as like a diet-wise that I can't function. But you have to get to a level of suffering that a lot of people are comfortable with. And so for these last shows, as I've gotten, I've done 26, 27 shows now. And so I've learned over the years, like the discipline it takes. I'm doing 2 hours of cardio a day, and they're like, oh, you're going to lose so much muscle. I gained 3% muscle and actually went down. I went down from 23% body fat to 4.5% based on the in body scale. But that's what my last show was, about 4.5% body fat, which you'll never get down to zero. Even that was only for like a day with like the dehydration. But usually about 6-7% is where I'm at, like pre-show, right? But a week out from show though.
A lot of science goes hard.
Right. A lot of trial and error. Like I still haven't nailed it to the point where I want to. As far as like the last week or the drying out phase and the peak week is what we call it, the hell week, peak week, whatever they want to call it. I'm still trial and error. So every time I try something different, right? Like, oh, cool, I'm gonna cut salt this week, and then next time I'm gonna cut my water 2 days out. Oh, that was too much. Now I'm gonna cut it 1 day out. So I'm still learning, but I just think it's going to be more of that, just that passion, just of science. Like you said, I learned that less is more. PEDs we talked about, performance enhancing drugs, juice, gear, steroid, whatever you want to call it. Everybody does. I have a doctor now that takes care of my labs, so I get my labs done every 3 months. I know where my testosterone's at. I know where my T3, which is thyroid hormones, at. I know where my cholesterol's at, my red blood cells. So I know where everything is at, and we manage that. And we don't go into an extreme amount. We just go into optimal amounts. And so some people don't realize, like, okay, cool, I'm gonna do 2 grams of test weight. I'm like, well, you don't need that. Like, of a 300, 500 a week, I'm at optimal level where I should be at like an 18-year-old, like at the 800 to 1,000 range.
And I think also like one thing when you bring up first,
yes,
you don't even know what you're getting. Are you getting a high dose? Are you getting a low dose?
Are you getting anything at all?
Are you getting oil?
Yeah, are you getting anything at all?
Like, I think like believe like, oh, well, this PED is supposed to do this. Well, are you getting this PED?
Right. There's so much counterfeit out there now. All my stuff now comes from a doctor, and it won't prescribe anything that's not for human use, which is great because you don't really need all this stuff that's not for. You don't need stuff for a horse, right? Like you just this is called Eki for a reason. That means a horse. Equestrian is horses. So you really don't need that. And everything's like you said. I think that's a big change too. Is growing up and before all this was. It was really taboo, and doctors would never like look at it and look at your testosterone. I've been on TRT since I'm in my 40s now, mid 40s, and I've been on TRT since I was 34 because I needed it, right? And it's changed so much over that time. My physique being on real stuff from a pharmacy, from a doctor, like, and being in the optimal range and not the super high range. I mean, I remember first starting out with shows, and I've used coaches. Not gonna name any coaches that I've used. I've used very few coaches in my life, maybe 4 or 5 in the 18 years I've been competing, right? Maybe 4 or 5 coaches. And, some of them, I was scared for my life. It's like, man, am I going to make it through this prep? Like, I might die. You know, I felt terrible. I felt like I was toxic. Like my blood was toxic. I felt like, man, I'm doing so much stuff. And it was really, and I look back at it, I was like, I was probably the unhealthiest I've ever been doing that. Even though I was 8% body fat, I was super unhealthy. And now I'm looking at longevity and health markers, and I'm looking at my heart, I'm looking at my kidneys and my liver and, all that stuff. And I'm looking at it from a scientific view now. With all the educations out there now, you shouldn't be doing bathtub stuff and going in blind, Yeah,
I think there's so much out there. I think now the medical field it's catching up. It's not so taboo, and people can go talk to their doctor. There still needs more to be done. I think because I've heard like doctors find out like, and they're like, no, get off completely, and that kind of side.
And they're not going to. They're not going to get off.
Or and if they do, depression, the PCT,
every action is the opposite reaction, right? So
then you get these guys that are depressed, angry, and then when they could have, maybe they needed testosterone and they needed it, for legitimate reasons, but they couldn't get it for financial reasons or health insurance. Or they were just too scared to talk to their doctor.
Right. And that's what doctors got to realize. And that's kind of what I do. Is by no means am I a doctor, but I feel like I'm somebody now that's educated enough, and I've done the medical field long enough where people can come talk to me, and I will refer them to the doctors that I use, that people I trust myself. I'm like, hey, go talk to this person, have them do your stuff, tell them the truth, tell them what you're taking, tell them, so that way the doctor's not looking at them like, oh my God, your liver enzymes or whatever, like, or your testosterone's at 2,400. Like, hey, we need to back off a little bit. Like, go with a doctor that knows, or somebody that can help treat that, and make sure that everything is where it needs to be. You need to be at an optimal level, not you're not way out there, way over the list. But if you're in the optimal level for muscle growth and tissue repair and stuff like that, like the biggest thing that PEDs do is recovery, right? So it helps you recover faster. So you couldn't work out the same body part for a week. You might be able to hit them for every third day, because now you're recovering a lot faster. Like, it doesn't really, I'm taking stuff tomorrow, I'm gonna lose 20 pounds of body fat, or I'm taking stuff tomorrow, I'm gonna gain 15 pounds of muscle. It's work, it's food, it's science, it's progressive overload of your muscles. It's, all that stuff.
And I think like now, like they see these Instagram, oh, this guy's, what else did he do? And some people, I think a lot of young guys are out there, oh, you know what, if I jump on I'm gonna look like Sebum.
Yeah.
Because all it just takes is one cycle, and then they don't realize like it's not one cycle. No. It's a scientific approach. It is the diet. It is the exercise. It's the coach, and sometimes it's the genetics.
I was going to say that genetics, 100%. But you can't change the shape of the muscle. You can change the size. If you got high calves, you're always going to have high calves. You can't make your calves drop down to your ankle. Genetics are going to be huge. Genetics are huge. It can't change. You could just change the size, how thick your muscle fibers are, or how many muscle fibers, but the shape's going to be the shape. If you don't look like Sebum going into it, have you seen Sebum? I mean, look at Lee Priest. A lot of these guys, 16, 17 years old, they were jacked already. Like, they were in good, not jacked, but they were in great shape at that age before anything. So
yeah, I think that's like, so you've done so many different diets and all that stuff. What have you learned about diets you don't like, or they're not? We kind of touched on this a little while ago, just chatting ourselves. I think people, when they get extremists into anything, is bad, right? So everything, and to me, here's my common answer, because I've been nutritional counseling for 14 years now. I've been nutritional counseling people since I got my degree. The best diet is the one you can stick to, right? Like, if you like intermittent fasting, where you stop eating at 9 o'clock and don't eat until 11 a.m., and that works for you, and you're losing weight and you feel good on it, stay with that. If you like low carb, if you like keto, if you like, if you like vegan food, but you're healthy. Like, not all vegans are healthy, right? Yeah. So a lot of them they're missing proteins. So you can be a protein deficiency if you don't get the right blend in there. But if you're doing anything that your body, you're happy with and you feel good, that's the one that you should be doing, right? A really good point. But I think it's like some of these coaches are like, no, this is the way.
This is the only way. Yeah.
And it's like stepping back and be like, well, a coach needs to learn how to manipulate the original diet to make it with that person, because some people have good genetics and bad genetics,
or people have busy lifestyles. Yeah. If I tell you to eat 8 meals a day and you work a job at a freaking, doing construction, or you're doing something that's busy, or you're in a hospital working, you can't sit down and eat a meal 8 times a day. You know what I mean? So, okay, cool. How many meals can you realistically get in? maybe 3 to 4. Okay, let's do a 4-meal diet, get the same amount of calories in there. Let's break it. Oh no, you can't. If you don't have 8 meals a day, then you're never gonna get on. You're never gonna get on stage. You're never gonna lose weight. Like no, there's a million ways to skin a cat. There's a million ways to do a diet.
Yeah, I do. I did 3 meals a day. I wanted to do more. Like I was like in the hospital with a patient that's sick, and I couldn't do it.
You can't.
And it was just unrealistic. I'm trying to get. Everyone can compete. You may not be able to go like pro, but I think it's a sport.
This is how I tell everybody. It's not, you do it anyway. You work out, you try to eat clean. What if you focus for 16 weeks? Yeah. What if you did absolutely 100% focus for 16 weeks? There's a program out there by Andy Frisella called 75 Hard, right? And everybody's jumping on that now. A lot of business guys are doing it. Basically, it's a bodybuilding program. Like, okay, for 75 days, you're going to work out twice a day. You're going to eat a diet. I mean, there's some other good stuff in there too. Read a book, introduce yourself to people. But it's pretty much what we do in bodybuilding with some other like mind enhancing things to it, like reading a book and going out of your comfort zone. But 75 days is literally like a 7-week diet. You know what I mean? So it's 8-week.
That's a good way of looking at it. And I think it's so cool how bodybuilding can be translated into. And I think it's nice to see how like bodybuilding like now like peds are like now going into that market. People are like, oh, I'm not doing this to be a bodybuilder, but they're like, oh, I'm feeling better. And I think like more people are jumping like first for bodybuilders, and supplements are like for like the kid or even just for everything. So you've worked for so many supplement companies. What is things for in a supplement? Like, what are things that makes a good supplement? What makes a bad supplement? So
as I know, being in the supplement, I mean, I've done manufacturing, sales on the retail side. I've been on the sales on the brand side. So I've done it all. I literally, my office was in a manufacturing plant in Dallas for like 4 years. So, and having a degree in what I do, I've had my own brand where I make my own products. A lot of these supplements, the raw chemicals are made in the same places, right? So like there's a company called Glambia who owns all the cow fields in Ireland pretty much. And they make 90% of the protein that we eat, right? So they make all the protein. They own Optimum, BSN, Isopure, all those brands now that they own by Glambia. All their proteins are made in the same place, and they sell to a lot of other companies. So the protein quality is there. It's what these manufacturers or brands decide to do once they get those raw materials. So I could ship cases of creatine to me, raw creatine or whatever, but what I decide to do with that as the business owner is and nobody checks it. It's not FDA regulated. And that's where supplements are dangerous, is because I could be in my bathroom at my house scooping little pills up and putting them together and selling those to people, and nobody checks it. It's got to, we did a little study of this in college, and it has to hurt or be reported by at least 55 people for the FDA to look into it. So it's got to be like 50 people die and be like, hey, maybe we should look at this product. You know what I mean? That's a little too late, right? Like one person dies, but it's not a food, so they don't regulate it. It's not a food or drug, so they don't regulate it. It's a supplement, and so it's not regulated by the FDA. It's not looked at by anybody. There are little things you could see on there now. GMP certified. That means that the manufacturing facility is clean. Also, there's like truth in labeling certifications that do this. Hey, we got this tested, and everything that it says on the label is in this product. And that's a big thing with supplement. There's a couple of supplement companies right now in trouble, and it's been over the history of supplements for the last 20, 30 years. People are saying, hey, I've got, there's a big company back in the day, and they were on UFC, they were like everywhere, and they were a big, and there's the protein, they said, hey, we got 25 grams of protein in there, right? Once it got tested, they had 14 grams of protein and then 9 grams of straight, like a bunked amino acid that you can't even intake. So they were jipping off. They were half cutting it and selling it to people. And I mean, they got hit and sued by the FDA and by the federal and millions and millions. So just make sure it's a reputable company. I love startups too. Like, right, I had my own little brand. I love people trying to do their own thing. Just make sure that, hey, like, the person, you trust them, because I can go to this place and say, hey, I want this pre-workout made, but I only want half of what I say is on the label in there. Right. And the company is making it's like, cool, whatever you want. It's your product, it's your product. So they're not putting their name on it. You're putting your name on it. So just make sure it's a reputable company. If you go to, and it's hard to tell these days because you can go to these big companies that sell supplements, like, I don't want to bring out names, but the ones inside the malls and stuff like that. And you go there, and those are the ones that are hey, they don't know what's in them. Nobody gets them tested. You know what I mean? Like, so that's the biggest thing, is the reputation of the company. If they're a larger company, they're getting looked at more by the government and stuff like that. They're checking their stuff coming in. Startup stuff, just, you got to be careful. I mean, some of these companies got busted for having actual steroids in their supplements they're selling on the shelves at these supplement stores.
Actually, and then the ad.
Yep. And they're testosterone boosters and stuff.
Yeah, and so, but it is hard to find credible. I guess one real thing. do a lot of information. How do you find that information?
Research, man. I mean, learned it. I went to online college, but here's my difference. So I started school, got out of the military. We got out of the military. I went to school for like 8 hours a day. That was my full-time job when I got out. I went from a freshman to a junior in like a year and a half. Like I was taking 18 to 21 hours every semester, summer semesters, mini semesters, winter semesters. And I went in there, but I started going to an online school at Purdue, and they make you research yourself. They're not some lecture sitting up there like, here's the book. Like, hey, you got the internet, you need to find credible sources, and you need to write this paper on this subject. And now you need to present it. So you had to go in there and find all that stuff, and they'll look at your sources and like, well, these two aren't credible, so everything you put in this thing here is gone. Because you're like, oh, I did WikiLeaks or whatever. I did Wiki, and they're like, that's not credible. It's got to be NIH, National Institute of Health, or GovMeds or anything like that, So PubMeds and stuff. It's got to be published articles, reviewed, stuff like that. So it really, I research a lot. I have really good connections now as far as like the network I'm in, the people that I know. Not only me, I mean, just me and you talking back and forth. We can get stuff together. I mean, been in this industry for what I do for health and fitness. I work for some of the top companies in the world. I know these guys that are like, I mean, you talk to them and you're like, I think I know a lot. And I talk to these guys and I'm like, I'm blown away by what you know. I'm blown away by what you know, and I want to know what you. That's kind of how I go. So.
Yeah, I think open-minded and continuing education, learning. There's just so much information out there, and I think it's good. Like, oh, this is what I learned. You can always find an article that kind of sways you. Like, oh, well, broccoli kills you, or broccoli because it's a
don't eat eggs. And the next article is like, eggs are the best thing in the world. Like, yeah.
But yeah, I wanted to go over one topic real quick. We're running out of time. I want to talk about men dominating in women's sports, and I just think it's such an interesting topic because. And what are your feelings on it?
It's just, I mean, and I get it, and and I'm a very like a passionate person about everything, and I let people be how they want to be. If whatever you want to do in your life, as long as it doesn't affect me personally, do what you want to do, right? Whatever your decisions you make in life, I think everybody should be able to govern themselves. Correct. Make any decisions you want to make. If you want to take gear or not take gear, whatever you want to do. But when it starts putting the careers and futures and stuff of other people together, then we got to look at it as a society, right? So a male and female are never going to be the same. Like I don't care what you take. I don't care how much page you take. You could take 10 times the gear that I take. You will never produce as much muscle mass, as much testosterone, as much chemicals or stuff like that as I will. It's not biologically possible. I have gonads that produce a lot. You have a pituitary gland that produces a little. And even if you're putting estrogenous stuff in there, and it's going to only put it to a certain point that your body develops that way. Also the opposite. Even if I'm a male and I grew up, going through puberty and stuff like that as a male, I'm going to have potentially more muscle mass, strength, bone density than my counterparts, right? So like pain and those, it's not one for one. You can't put, maybe the goal is to put a division of people that are like like-minded. Hey, we're all men or women, or we were men and women, and we're all in this group, and we put a whole thing to them. But I don't think you should be able to cross over and say, you know what, I'm not a very good athlete. Let me go over to this section here. Now I'm number one in the country. You know what I mean? So I think that's wrong because you're going over to something that's not fair.
Yeah, because I think you've trained enhanced athletes and natural athletes. Huge difference. But when it comes to male and females, you can be enhanced female. You can be a natty male. The natty male is going to win. It's just not fair. Yeah. Think like with people taking pee. What are like the dangerous pees out there for?
So, and here's for women, anything that causes virilization. Virilization is the beginning of doing male characteristics, right? So male characteristics, facial hair, you start getting just stuff like that. So anything starts getting virilization for a female, too dangerous for them because
what kind of PEDs?
I mean, testosterone, which is not only naturally occurring, but if you get NCAA athlete female, like a track runner or whatever, like is probably producing about 100 milligrams of test around that area, 80 to 100, right? That's their optimal range. Anything over 150, estrogenously put in, starts doing male character. Okay. Female range of testosterone is 0 to like 100, right? Okay. And that's 100's high, 0 is super low. 70-year-old grandma, and I'm not thinking anything, or 100, right? Anything over 150, your body starts doing like PCOS, your body starts, it's a hormone imbalance. You start getting male character, facial hair, deepening voice, enlargement of your organs and stuff like that. So 150 milligrams of testosterone for a female can start turning her into a. That's what they prescribe for gender research.
Oh, okay. That's really good. Yeah. That way girls know like.
And this is my big thought on this, and I want to put this to everybody, men, women, boyfriends, all your stuff. A woman, your girlfriend is not just a little man. He's not half your size. Yeah. Even though he's half your size, she cannot handle half your gear. Oh, I'm doing 800 milligrams a week, so I'm gonna give her 400 and be fine. Yeah. That's not the same. It's totally different. I hear that a lot by people who are coming in like, oh, I just do a half what my boyfriend takes. That is absolutely wrong. Like you need a percentage of a tenth of a percentage of what they take.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing because no one I've seen a lot of females take PEDs and the side effects are lifelong.
Right.
And I've heard some of these coaches like, no, it'll go away.
Yeah.
And does it go away?
It doesn't. You can reverse it to a point, but after a certain point, it goes like clitoral enlargement is going to be there. Deep into the voice, there's actually voice meters you can use on your phone. It'll tell you when your voice is getting deeper. So if you in doubt because you hear your own voice all the time, use that voice meter and see what your number is, and then a month into your peds as a female, do that voice meter and it'll be way different. And that's never going away. It's changing your vocal cords, right? It's a thickening of the vocal cord. But yeah, like as far as like that goes, it's like it's some things are irreversible. And is it worth it for a trophy? You know what I mean? For something, I'll buy. If you want one, I got 30 of them sitting on the shelf. I'll give you one. You know what I'm saying? Like not you. Know what I'm saying, but like it's not worth it.
I'll take one.
Yeah, it's not worth it to change your life. But I think, as you're saying, dangerous stuff. I think anything that's not studied, like right now, Ozempic's pretty big, right? For weight loss. It's a insulin mimicking thing. It helps with all that stuff. It's great. It works. Obviously, it works because insulin helps control how much sugar you're doing, or it's an insulin blocker. What's that doing to your pancreas? What's that doing to your natural insulin sensitivity? We have no long-term studies.
And I think one of the biggest things people don't look at is you're losing weight, the kind of weight you have Ozempic butt and Ozempic face coming around is like, well, like you lost 20 pounds, but you lost 10 pounds of muscle.
Yeah.
So now your resting metabolism just goes down. So now when you get off Ozempic, you're going to just gain fat.
And your body fat is still the same.
Yes,
like you lost 10 pounds of both. Guess what? You got the same percentage of body fat because you lost both of the. Body fat is your muscle mass compared to body fat ratio, right? Like your BMI. All you did was keep your body fat, the same amount of body fat. You just lost weight, which is your gravitational pull of the earth, right?
I think we focus to scale and not thinking about like muscle and all that stuff. And it's so weird now, like people younger than me, like, I don't want to look. What's the worst part? You get too much muscle, stop working out and it goes away.
Yeah, what are you right now, like 220?
I'm 195.
So guess what? You look 220.
Oh,
so what do you care what the scale says?
Yeah.
Like everyone's like, how much do you weigh? It's like, how much do I look like I weigh? Right? It's like, that's all I matter. They're like, bro, you look like you're like 250. I'm like, yeah, but I'm not. I'm barely 205. But like you're like, okay, I look like I'm something. That's all that should matter. How good do I look? Not that has to be everything in it, but if you're trying to lose weight, that's why you're doing it, right? Like,
I think it's a huge
we're not losing weight. Just we're not losing weight with Ozempic to increase our health because it's not going to help you.
I think in Ozempic, it's just the amount of power these influencers, like everyone wants to do Ozempic, but like no one wants to do the dieting, no one wants to do the cardio, no one wants to like.
So what happens when you get off it?
Yeah, and then no one's talking about these
because they don't know. Nobody knows what it is. We could talk for hours about this because I go in rabbit holes and.
I think there's so many things. I love that side thing is like there's metformin, which I just think I'm just surprised that never took off.
Right.
Because there's so many benefits and it's used in the anti-aging.
And if you don't even want to do that, do berberine, which is the natural way.
And, I mean. There's a decrease in cancer, increased survival rates of COVID, and no one talks about
anti-aging is huge for metformin.
Yeah, and it's
cheap.
It's a little bit more safer, and it helps keep your muscle. Well,
nobody said a word about it.
Yeah, no one's talking about it.
We just skipped up to here.
Yeah, it doesn't make you skinny. It just helps you be a little bit better. But well, I thank you, Mike, for your time and your knowledge, and basically the positive influence you've had on my life. Thank you so much. Would you like to finish off?
No, I mean, appreciate the time here, man. I love, I've been an educator and a advocate for fitness and health for decades, man. So I love what I do. I love getting on podcasts or anywhere I have a platform to talk to people. I love getting out there and putting information out. I've done a lot of trial and error and yes and no's and been through the whole increase in popularity, and I'm glad that I can.
Thank you, guys.